Hello, everyone. This is Under the Mayo. I'm here with JarekTheGamingDragon for another episode of Profiles in Gaming Enthusiasm. Jarek, good morning. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me here. How you doing?
I'm good. We're both just getting started to our day. The YouTuber schedule of whenever the hell my day starts, it starts, I guess.
That's actually like one of the biggest pieces of advice I tell people when it comes to content creation is that you're getting into a line of work where you don't have a boss to tell you a specific work schedule. So it's really easy to fall into this, what I call the 26-hour sleep cycle.
Sure.
It's such a dangerous thing because that's so unhealthy.
Yeah, like I think I talked about this with Susie, with the Sphere Hunter last year, where just like you'll get set on a schedule and you're good and you're waking up for a while at a good time. You're like, I finally reset my sleep schedule, and you're good for about 2 weeks. And then you do one video and you spend 16 hours editing, and now it's 9 in the morning and you've ruined everything. You know,
Yeah.
it gets pretty rough. How long have you had? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's like the two things I learned pretty quickly was weekends are extremely important. It doesn't matter that you just got done with that project. Take the next 3 days to do nothing and recharge. Otherwise, you'll get burned out really quick. And two, keep that sleep cycle. It does not matter if the video is not done yet. I know you can see the end and it's close, and I know I want to finish it, but it's 3 a.m. Go to bed.
Yeah. What thing is, if you don't finish it though, then you end up laying in bed for 2 hours thinking about like, oh man, I should edit that one thing. It's the same way with like games like Factorio or Prison Architect, any of those building games where you're like, okay, I need to go to sleep. I'm going to stop building this thing. But you're like, okay, I'll just fix this pipe real quick. Oh wait, I can't fix the pipe because I need more copper. Damn it. Okay, hold
It's
on.
always one more thing. It's
Yeah.
like I'll do this after this next thing is done. So I just
Yeah.
like I have to put a hard limit on myself, or I'm not going to bed. I avoid that being like 1 week ahead of my sleep in my work schedule, where the video or the game I stream this Monday, that video won't go live until next week's Friday. So I'm always 1 week ahead.
You say stream, so like, is that your process? You do streaming of a game that you're going to talk about the next week?
Yeah, so I stream whatever game it is on Monday or however many days it takes to beat that game. And then that week I just, edit out that video until it's done. And then that will go live the following Friday. It gives me a process or a time where I can kind of, on a more personal level, talk to the people that actually watch me. And Twitch really tends to be a better place to do that than on YouTube.
All right.
So it just kind of works out. I don't really do that for money because I don't get a ton of views over on Twitch. Like at most, I'll get somewhere between $100 to $300 extra a month, but it's like nothing compared to YouTube.
Yeah, it's a way to share the work time with people that follow your content, and that's a valuable experience. Sometimes I just pop on Twitch just for an editing stream. I'm just put Premiere up on the screen, and I'm just cutting clips and talking to people while listening to stand-up comedy, and you got like 25 people watching, and it's like, you could be doing this alone, but why not? Why? Yeah.
Yeah, it helps feel that feeling of I've been sitting here working at my desk for the last 6 hours, just trying to get. Now I have people to talk to while I'm working. It makes it better.
It totally is, and plus, you give people like a little behind-the-scenes look of how things go together. That's always interesting.
Yeah, because people usually see it and they're like, "Oh, you just play video games for a living." It's like, man, I wish. I wish that's all I did. That's only like 15, maybe 20% of the work, but probably not even that.
That's the worst. It's like I'm so envious of channels where it's just like a guy talking over general footage in the background. Like, man, I wish I did that. Like, no disrespect to those kinds of channels, but like the way I talk about games, like I have to show. I'm obsessive. I have to show a visual example of everything I'm talking about every 4 seconds. And if I could just kind of like put up general footage and just kind of talk for 10 minutes, I could do so much more with my channel.
Oh yeah. I don't know how the process you go about it is, but after I finish the game, I'll set up my camera and talk into the camera, stumbling over my own words for the next 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And then I cut that down, and then I have all the audio, and then it's to go through and actually find the footage that matches what I'm talking about. And like that process of recording and then editing in to match, that's the process that takes the longest amount of time.
Yeah. I wanted to ask what is your video making process, because I'm always really curious to hear what other people do when they set out to script or edit their videos. Like, can you go through like a step by step? Like, I want to make a video about this game, and then go.
So for me, I honestly I almost don't. I mean, I do have a process, but I almost don't have like a game in mind when I go to stream. Rarely I do. Usually, Mondays are the day that I stream the game I'm about to cover. But it's generally at like Sunday night where I'm actually making that decision of what game to cover, because I cover one game every week, so that's a lot of games to be covering. I just don't think about it. But I stream it on Monday, talking to my fans. And to be honest, if my streams got way more views or way more money, I would probably just put most of my focus into that, because it is more fun than sitting there editing for a long time. Not that I particularly like hate my job or anything like that. Like, I still consider myself pretty lucky to have what I have. But after I stream, it's almost like right after I'm done streaming. I don't actually write any scripts out for my videos. I've tried that in the past, and I find that I just sound robotic, and it doesn't come out as like genuine. It just doesn't feel right to me. So I usually just make a full list of like bullet points to talk about. And that's where the stumbling over my own words for the next like hour comes in, because it's re-saying things that I already said, but in a better way.
Yeah.
And then going into the editing process, where creates more work, but I think makes for a better video.
Sure.
I don't do any crazy over-the-top editing. I don't think I would really have the time to either, since I'm making one of these videos a week, and it really does take like that time to make one of these videos. So overall, it's pretty simple. It's just time-consuming work.
Yeah, I do. I definitely fully script my videos, just because I can't get what I want to say out when I'm just sitting there and like trying to free flow and talk and everything like that, because I'm constantly putting things together over like weeks of time of like trying to structure everything together. So my video personality and my streaming personality end up being very kind of different people. And then whereas you come across a lot more natural in your own videos, and I don't know, I think that's definitely an accomplishment. Not everyone can really pull that off.
Yeah, the funny thing is that even in my case, when it comes to my videos, like the person you see in videos, like the style of videos I make, is going to be very different than the person you're just casually talking to. Like, if you watch me stream, it's a lot less serious than my videos come across.
Okay.
And it's that's something I actually consistently struggle with. Is it's pretty difficult to sit there and complain about something in a game for the last 2 minutes without it sounding like you absolutely hate this game and you're so angry at it, when in all reality it's like, no, just minor complaints. This doesn't ruin the game at all.
Yeah, you got to get those frustrations out, and but some people think that like if you are criticizing a game or you're talking about things you don't like about it, that means that you don't like the game, and that's usually not the case at all. There's all kinds of games that I would say that I like, but I could go on for hours about telling you the problems I have with it, and I would still put it on like, hey, this is one of the best games I played this year.
Yeah, it's the games you like the most are the ones you have most complaints about, because those are the games you've played the most and you know what those complaints are.
Yeah, that's true. Or at least the games that have something in it that you like so much that it frustrates you that the rest of the game isn't to that level.
Yeah, I see the potential in this game, but it didn't get there.
Yeah, definitely. Like, my favorite game this year is Sifu. I absolutely love it, and half of my 40-minute video on it is going to be criticisms because, like, I want it to be so much better than it is, even though it's the best thing I've played this year.
Yeah, I've not played it. I've heard so many people talking about it. That is definitely one of the more difficult things about the job I have, is that playing a different game every single week doesn't actually leave me too much time to play other games that I want to play off stream, because I can't stream and cover every game I play. A lot of them just simply wouldn't get views, and also you just don't have time.
And like, you can't really force yourself to talk about absolutely everything you play. I don't know how it is for you. I guess some people can just flow. Like I've gotten to know G-Man over the past couple of years, and I'm kind of envious of his ability to, like, he'll play something and then he can do a 30-minute review on like anything that he plays. But for me, when I play something 95% of my experience with games is, that was fine. I couldn't do a video over 2 minutes on it. I just wouldn't have that much to say.
So I can, but then the question comes along, do you really want to?
Yeah.
That is the hardest thing about making videos of games that are just mind-numbingly bland. Is
Yes.
that, yeah, I could talk about this for the next 20 minutes, but that also means I'm going to have to spend a week editing a video about this video game I don't give a shit about in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
Those are the
definitely.
hardest ones. Those are the ones where you get the feeling like, I just really don't want to do this. I just want this to be done.
I was going to ask earlier, how long have you had your YouTube channel, and what made you want to start one in the first place? And has it always been gaming and shooter focused?
Oh, that's kind of a long story. That
I got the time.
seems like an easy answer, but it's definitely not an easy answer because my gaming channel was not my first channel.
Okay.
I've actually been making YouTube videos since like late 2006.
Gotcha.
And YouTube only existed, like late 2005. That's about when YouTube existed. My initial YouTube channel was actually just about airsoft content, and that was not
Okay.
even with the intention of like being a popular YouTuber or something. Keep in mind, at this time, I wasn't even 18 yet. I was like 17-ish, somewhere out there, and I really liked airsoft at the time. Airsoft was kind of like popping off, getting really popular. And I thought, okay, well, if I turn my hobby into a job, I'll have a good job. Little did I know that's not true in any way whatsoever. That is so not true. But it's really easy to get a business license in Oregon, regardless of your age. So I went and got a business license. And I actually managed to get a wholesale account for airsoft before I turned 18 because I didn't check my ID. So here I am, not even 18, with a wholesale account from a company whose name I will not mention for their for their safety. Selling airsoft guns to people that have to be 18 to buy them. But that was how the YouTube channel even started, because this was like early days of YouTube, and YouTube was still YouTube. And I noticed all these big businesses were just not taking advantage of this platform that my whole generation was watching. Everyone was on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I started making YouTube videos, and they were awful. They were terrible at first. But everyone found me, and everyone started watching the airsoft community because there was just no competition at all. And my business was doing fine. But as I said, I very quickly realized turning your hobby into a job is not fun. That is all business, no hobby. And also dealing with selling airsoft guns, you're dealing with parents selling to kids, and then you get like man children that want to LARP as they're in the military. It's just not people you really want to work with. And my YouTube channel eventually got big enough to just support me on its own, so I just closed down shop, went full into YouTube for making airsoft reviews, and that was doing pretty good. I was making like 2 to 3K around that time for a while.
What years? What years is that? When it started doing
This was
really well?
around 2008, 2009, 2010,
Okay.
around that time. And that continued up until about 2015 when something kind of really bad happened on YouTube. That's when the adpocalypse hit.
Was that
And my
2015?
pay went... Yeah, that was around 2015, 2016-ish time.
Wow, it feels so much more recent to me. I don't know why.
It really does. Probably, mainly because we're still kind of struggling with the aftermath of it.
Yeah.
But like, suddenly my pay went from near 3K a month, next month 800 a month, month after that 300 a month, and we had no answers.
Ouch.
My views hadn't dropped. My views were still going up, but like I just wasn't getting paid. And this was not just my channel. This was like everyone, and we're all wondering what's going on. We need this to live now. Why are we not getting paid? And this was before they added that like your video is demonetized symbol.
Okay.
So we just had absolutely no answers as to what was going on until eventually they said things are getting demonetized that are viewed as quote unquote not advertiser friendly. And some of this content was gun content. And since it's just a bot deciding whether or not something is advertiser friendly, airsoft guns are treated the same as real guns. So if you make airsoft content, that immediately gets demonetized.
Wow.
So suddenly I was thrust into a position of, okay, well, my career possibly just isn't even viable anymore. What do I do? I kind of tried to make it work for the next few years at living on my savings, basically. That just didn't work. And I had started my video game account not to be my main account. I just kind of had that account to dump footage of like me and my friend playing video games, just share it with my friends. It wasn't meant to be anything professional. It was just raw games of like us playing, a good deathmatch game in Call of Duty or whatever I got. Well, eventually I was like, okay, I'm gonna start actually seeing if I can push something over here on this channel that has very little overlap with my airsoft channel. And I still remember the first video really got popular. That was my Far Cry 2 analysis. What did I even call it? It was like analyzing Far Cry 2's loneliness, something like that. That got, for the first week, didn't get too many views, and then suddenly, the YouTube thing happened where that video just suddenly got so much out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then another month went by where I kind of looked back at it and like, this video did really well. I'm going to start making some more analysis videos, and that's sort of like how this channel started. That was back in like 2018. So effectively had two different YouTube careers that started on their own. But I've been doing this for a long time. Like, quite literally, I've been doing this for half my life.
Yeah, I mean, back to 2000, what, you said 2005, 2006?
2006, 2007. Yeah. That was like a really good case of right place, right time. I will always tell people this. Sometimes you put a lot of effort into your work and you will not see rewards out of it. Yeah. A lot of luck goes into success. And at that time, not only was airsoft just as a business, a market getting really big, but also that's 2007. That's like Call of Duty is exploding. People love this modern military nonsense.
Okay.
So airsoft guns were like right next to that. So that definitely like majorly bolstered its popularity. So I just kind of happened to get into this hobby that I thought was really cool at the right time and try to push this career that I thought I would enjoy at the right time. And then YouTube kind of collapsed, and then video game stuff. At the end of the day, I think it worked out better. The video game market is definitely a lot bigger than the airsoft market, especially since it's not quite as big as it was then. And on top of that, I think it says a lot when I can say talking to gamers is less annoying than talking to airsofters.
Okay, bold statement.
I mean, it is, but when you think about the people that get in airsoft, it makes a lot of sense. The people that get in airsoft are either kids that don't really know what they're doing yet. I mean, just kids, that's just how they are. It's parents doing things for their kids, or it's adult men wanting to LARP as being part of the military. Or, and I don't want to get like political here, it's people that are on the way, way far right, where like guns are their personality, like that type.
Okay.
Which is not a group I want to associate with.
All right.
So yeah, in the long run, it ended up working out better. I was getting burnt out from airsoft anyway, so sucks for a few years. I was like living on like poverty level money, but then it came back, and at the end of the day, I'm happy.
Yeah, gaming is going to give you, I guess, a lot more variety of things to talk about, right? Instead of specializing on something as, kind of niche, like airsoft. I mean, I don't know if niche is the right word. I'm sure it has a good number of people.
It definitely is the right word. I tell people that a lot too, where it's like the question I get fairly frequently is like, how do you just make videos about first-person shooters? Don't you like get bored? I'm like, well, first-person shooters are pretty like varied.
Yeah.
Like they're not all the same.
Yeah, I mean, you take Far Cry 2 and you compare it to Quake. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, and then even then, I feel like our general interest in shooters are actually quite different. Because like I'm 30 years old. I was born in '91. And while I was old enough to play those games came out, in the 90s, Quake, Doom, Duke Nukem, that kind of stuff, that was never what really stuck with me. And it wasn't really until like, I don't know, Half-Life 1, Time Splitters 2, like that time. That's about when I really was able to fully dive into video games. For me, that's more of my interest, not so much like what we now call boomer shooters.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't mind retro shooters. I do cover them, but they're definitely not my, like, I see them and like, I really want to play this. I'm like, oh, that looks fun. And that's like as far as it goes.
That's actually a point I have here listed that I wanted to get into. In your Ultra Kill video, you talked about 4 different kinds of boomer shooters. You listed old Doom style ones, build engine style, Quake style, and then games that are like Doom Eternal, but with retro graphics. And I think that's an interesting distinction because like people like to assume that I'm really into new boomer shooters when I'm really not. I like some of them. I like some of those old school titles. I grew up with some of them. And I like a new title here and there. But calling games with Eternal style gameplay loops boomer shooters, just it feels wrong. Is there another name we can come up for these kinds of titles?
I feel like we're almost in like a Souls-like situation again, where every game like Doom Eternal is like, this is an Eternal-like game.
Yeah.
We just don't like have a name for it.
What about new Doom clones?
I mean, sure, but
All
I feel
right.
like that's the same thing as saying Eternal like.
Well, yeah. Eternal clones, yeah. Like Shadow Warrior 3 to me feels like an Eternal clone, and then like, and that's or an Eternal and that's not a bad thing at all. Like, if we don't have a name for it, then I say go for it. I mean, the original Doom was super influential on other shooters for a long time, and why not have the same thing happen with Eternal?
It's still amazing how much like every Doom game managed to be extremely influential in one way or another.
Yeah,
Like even Doom 3, not necessarily in its gameplay, but just in its tech, was very influential to other things because that really pushed lighting.
it did. That was like the thing they showed off the most in those tech demos. I remember that.
Yeah. The one thing I would say about that, like four different style of boomer shooters, and a lot of people pointed this out, and I was thinking it as I was editing. It's like I know I'm gonna get this comment. Is that it totally left out the like Hexen style.
Okay.
And it's like that was the other one. I could have made it like five different kinds. In all reality, that one really is the fourth, and then Doom Eternal is just sort of its own thing, like the evolution of what it became.
Yeah.
But I mean, I agree with that. It's like there's very clearly a split between old '90s retro shooters and like what has become of them with Doom Eternal.
Yes.
Like I've always looked at Doom Eternal as this evolution of like this is where I want things to go. Like this, I have way more fun with this than I do initial '90s retro shooters.
Yeah. Did
You know,
did you play Shadow Warrior 3?
I haven't yet, man. I've been I've been putting that off for a long time because I haven't even played Shadow Warrior 2 yet.
Okay. I didn't play that
Like,
either.
I
I haven't
played-
played the other ones.
Yeah, I played Shadow Warrior 1 and I really liked it. In fact, I still get comments on back then I was just kind of posting up like Let's Plays just because I had recording of it and I might as well. This was forever before my channel really blew up. And I still get comments on one of them because there's a certain point in the first game where people get lost a lot. So they end up finding that video to try to like, how the hell do I get through this one thing? And it wasn't even anything major. It was just there's something green you needed to pick up in a green room, and it's hard to see. But yeah, no, I remember really liking Shadow Warrior 1, and Shadow Warrior 2 had co-op. I was gonna play it with a friend. We both got it on launch, but we just never really got around to it. I still need to.
Well, when you get to 3, like I mean, 3 has its issues. It's definitely a game that is massively affected by the pandemic. Like you can feel it that it should have been a lot more than what it is, but its gameplay loop is a straight up just remix of Doom Eternal. And like if you will jump into that game and you will immediately have an idea of what's going on. It's the familiar, it's the comfortable, but things are like in different places. Things might be swapped around a little bit. Like you get ammo from killing with a sword, and you get health from killing with guns. And so it's like it's kind of Eternal's loop, but not really. And then the weapon swapping has really cool incentive behind it, and it has the ammo limitations. It feels really good. It's like a very simplified Doom Eternal. Like if you compressed Doom Eternal into a nice like 16-ounce soda, you just suck it down, and you're like, yeah, that was good. Maybe I'll have another, and then you let it go. It's kind of like it doesn't have the depth, it doesn't have the mastery of Eternal, but it's a fun little roller coaster ride. I hope you play. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people tell me very similar things. Where it's because people know how much I like Doom Eternal at this point. So like I've had so many people at me on Twitter, message me on Discord, they're like, "Oh, when are you gonna play this game? It's basically another Doom Eternal. You should play this game." It's like, I will. It looks like I have no doubt that I'll enjoy it because it looks like something I will enjoy. It's just one of those things where it's like I'll get around to it eventually. And when it comes to making videos, you know how that goes.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you just as long as you play it, you may not even make a video about it. Yeah, but I think you at least deserve to give it a playthrough or two. It's worth it. It's worth seeing what they've done there. Have you heard of Deadlink?
I have not.
Oh, it's in early access. I don't think it's public. I think you have to like get a key from the devs but it's a little indie roguelite first person shooter, and like I was kind of like whatever, okay, fine. But I got to play it, and it has blown me away. I can't really say much about it, but they described it to me as Doom Eternal meets Hades, and it is 100% correct. it's I can't wait to play it. I'm trying to get permission to stream it because it's not public yet, but it's fantastic. It's one of those games that makes me think that wow, there are actually developers that are taking the lessons from Doom Eternal's gameplay and implementing it in their own ways without it just being like, hey, we have an air dash and grapple hook. We're like Doom Eternal. You know what I mean? Like that's not what makes the game good. What makes the game good is like how smart it is, how you have to move, how you have to manage resources, and they've nailed it. So I can't wait to talk more about Dead Link. As soon as it comes out, I'm gonna let you know about it.
Yeah, I'm actually, because they have a Steam page. I'm looking at it right now. It looks quite good. The art style is interesting. It's like retro, but not at the same time.
It's kind of basic cyberpunk visuals. Like that's not the best part about it. But when I started playing it, I played it all day. I couldn't stop.
Yeah, there's a few games like that where it's like, I've got early access to this game. I can't talk about it. I really want to talk about it. Sulako is one of those games. Like, I want to talk about Sulako and show it off so much because what they've shown in the trailers for that game is 100% true. Like, playing it feels exactly like what they're showing you.
Nice.
It's so good. And I can't... I want to talk about it, but I can't. They've told me I can talk about it. I just can't show it.
Okay.
So they actually encourage me to like tweet about it. Do what you want. Do the give us attention thing. And I want to. It's genuinely good. It's one of the games I'm looking forward to more than almost anything else.
Nice. That one's been mentioned to me. I haven't looked into it much. I know I looked into it a little bit. I had a hard time finding it because I kept on trying to look for. I kept on getting the results of the ship from Aliens.
Yeah.
The sulako, right? I don't know. Is it the same spelling? Is it a different spelling?
It's the same spelling. They have a Steam page, so you should be able to find it on Steam.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very good. I mean, the way they describe it is, it's Fear meets Doom. It's more of Fear on GZ Doom. I feel like that's a better way to describe it.
Okay.
And what they've done to the GZ Doom engine is actually insane. It's just particle effects. I mean, it's literally like a gunfight in Fear, where there's just chunks of walls being taken out and stuff blowing up all over the place. Managing to do that in the GZ Doom engine, I don't know how they did that.
Man, Fear was so good.
It really was. And like one of the biggest things they wanted to prioritize is, if you can't mention Fear without talking about AI, but how do you get that AI to work in GZ Doom? That's really difficult. But when you're playing the game, it has the same sort of Fear feel where you have one of the AI talking to the other AI, and it doesn't feel like they're just shouting random lines because that's what they were meant to do. It feels like it's actually reacting to what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful illusion.
I want to know, and I'm talking about Sulako right now. I'm not talking about Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know, like, how do you even do that in GZ Doom? Like, that engine is not made for that.
I don't know. Is Sulako coming out soon? Like, are you just like in an early access, or can people play it right now?
They DM me on Twitter one day. Is like, hey, do you want to have like an early build of the game? We can give you a key on Steam, and you can play it as we update it and stuff like that. Basically, I'm not further in. Like, they really haven't told me more than that.
Okay.
What I know is pretty much the same as everyone else. They do say demo is coming soon in 2022. I do know that, but the full release, I feel like, is a when it's done type thing.
Nice. That's cool, right? When devs will reach out and they're just like, "Hey, we want you to try our game." It's like, and they aren't like insisting like, "Hey, we want you to make a video," like, but they'll just reach out and be like, "Hey, we like what you do. Would you give our game a try and tell us what you think?" Like, those are pretty cool contacts to get.
It's either really good or really bad. I get it pretty often. Like, once the entertainment, pretty much anything they post, they'll message me like, "Hey, new game. Do you want something for it?" That's how I got Dread Templar and Forgive Me, Father. Those are games I'm genuinely interested in. Chernobylite also randomly mailed me. I don't know what the dev or publisher's name. I totally forget off the top of my head. But they're like, "Hey, do you want just kind of like some stuff for the game?" And they just randomly sent me, I think it's their special edition. It's just like this big ammo box, like one of those military green ammo boxes with a bunch of stuff in it, just like random gas masks and stuff like that. So that was neat. And I already had it in my Steam library because I did plan on making a video of it at some point. But it's another one of those at some point it'll be done type things. Stuff like that's really cool. What's a little more awkward is when someone messages you and is like, hey, we can, do you want a key for this game? This game's, we've been working on it for a long time. Do you want to cover it? And I'll look at it, and the game will look genuinely good, but it'll be like a Metroidvania or something. And then I have to explain to him, like, sorry, I only cover first-person shooters. Your game looks great. I don't want you to think I think it's bad or anything. Yeah, it's like that sort of awkward situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because that is something I can't make videos of things that aren't first-person shooters. They will genuinely get absolutely no views.
What? Okay, so what videos in your keeping to the first-person shooter format? There is variety in there, and so what videos do you make that have the most success, and are those typically videos that you enjoy making the most?
Unfortunately, no. The videos that I find to get the most views are modern military games. And I hate that. I hate it so much.
Okay.
Because, like, everyone knows how much I dog on the Spunk Gargle Wee Wee thing. I hate those style of games, but those are the ones that get the most views. So it's like, do I just hate my life for a week and make a video on this and accept the views? Those games for me are pretty much... I hold those games back until you get to one of the valleys of YouTube, because that's how YouTube works. You'll have peaks and valleys. So when I start getting in one of the valleys, I'm like, okay, let's grab one of these games, make a video of it, get it out of the way. Because it's like, even the ones that are supposedly the best ones in that genre, I still hate them. And it's...
So you hate them, so are all the videos you do about them negative?
Yes, for the most part.
Okay.
Those are usually the videos I make where it's like, how bad is this game? Like, what's the name? Like the Medal of Honor reboot, for example. Like those games, which thankfully that wasn't too difficult because they weren't really held in very high favor. People didn't care about them too much, especially the second one. That kind of like killed it. So I could get away with that, but like, if I had to make a video about like Call of Duty 4, that wouldn't go over well. I hate Call of Duty 4's campaign. And I know that's not a common opinion. And I know, like, the responses I'll get to that are like, oh, you're just making this for views. It's like, no. I mean, I'm playing off of it a little bit because I know it'll get views, but that's my genuine opinion. I don't like the single-player Call of Duty games. I never have. Yeah. Like, and I think part of it is that the whole atmosphere is lost on me. I don't find the modern military thing cool. I have no interest in the military. While people are sitting here gawking about being that cool stealth sniper sneaking around shooting people, I'm going... okay, cool. All I'm doing is following this NPC and doing what he tells me to do. How is this fun? Like, I'm so disconnected from it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and
but the reason those get the most views is also because I tend to focus on guns a lot, and realistic guns will get a lot of views. Unfortunately, the gameplay doesn't carry with that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, is there a connection to the airsoft history that makes your military videos do better?
It's mainly the connection to real guns. Okay. People like seeing realistic depictions of weapons in games. And I like seeing that too, because that's, it's kind of cool just having that real life thing translated over with so much detail. Like, say, Model for 2019. As much as I hate Call of Duty single player, I do still really like Call of Duty's multiplayer. I put a lot of endless hours into that. So, like, Model for 2019 was kind of a treat in that way, because all the guns they had so much detail to them, and you can change them in so many different ways and stuff like that. So that sort of stuff is generally what ends up getting a lot of views on my channel.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there's just not many games that are actually good. It's like...
well, that's just
the
in
only
general.
one. Yeah, that is true.
And do you find that negative videos do better in views than positive ones?
Oh, easily. Like, any video I make where it's like, how bad is this game? It will just instantly get more views than, like, me gushing about Halo 3 for 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's saying something, because Halo is huge. So you figure Halo 3 would get, like, a ton of views on it. But no, it's like, how bad was this modern military shooter from 10 years ago that people don't even think about anymore? Yeah.
And I guess it's because, like, if people like a game, they already know they like the game. And then they see a video, someone talking about why they like the game. They're like, like they don't care to watch it. And then other people who don't know the game don't care about hearing why someone is talking about why they like a game they don't know. But if you see a video talking about how bad it is, well, now you've got the fans who are going to click it because they're going to be angry. You've got the people who hate the game who love hearing someone else point out why they don't like it, and then you also have people who don't know the game who are interested in hearing the critique of something. Like, I mean, I do it. I watch YouTube videos that are like 2 hours critiquing a television show that I've never even seen before. They're like, well, why did this TV show fail? I'm like, oh, I'm curious. Why did it fail? But I wouldn't watch a video on that same TV show of talking about why it's the best show ever. I think
people are definitely naturally curious.
It's in all of us, and like, because of that fact, like, that negative videos tend to do better than positive ones. You don't want to fall into that trap of thinking like, I'm going to try to find a negative way to approach this topic, because that's when you get insincere. And well, people will accuse you of making a negative video just like to be a contrarian and try to get clicks, and that's, I mean, I definitely don't do that. I get the feeling from you that you don't do that either. But like, my Resident Evil Village video is 40 minutes of massive negativity, and it's a very popular video on my channel. And people told me that I'm just trying to hate it so that people watch the video, and I tell them, like, no, I love Resident Evil. I would much rather have made a video talking about how much I love this game for half the views, because I want to like new Resident Evil games. I want to enjoy playing them. I would rather have that experience.
If there is one thing that gamers love to do, it's police other people's opinions. Like,
okay.
they can't fathom the idea that your opinion is different. It must be just you trying to be contrarian for views. Like,
Yes.
It can't be anything else.
It cannot.
And like, I know I have some hot takes. I am more than well aware that my opinions don't always line up with whatever gaming circle jerk is happening at the time. But I am not going to change my opinion, and I will definitely be vocal about here's how I feel. Now, that me being vocal about that is not me saying, hey, you need to feel this way now. It's just, you clicked on my video to see what I had to say. I didn't barge into your room and say, change your opinion, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's the YouTube comments are so extreme in that way. And I do tweet a lot of them out because I find them funny. I've been doing this YouTube thing for a long time now, so I don't take any of them personally. Most of the time I look at them, I roll my eyes, and then I just hide comments from then on, because it's that style of comments. But yeah, I do find that most of my comments are actually quite positive. I don't think people realize that, but I mean, I'm sure you get that all the time. It's like, wow, this is such a detailed video. Hey, it's Friday. It's another video again. It's a happy day. I like seeing your videos, and that's my main goal when it comes to making videos. If I can make people forget their regular bullshit everyday life, especially with how things have been going the last few years, for just 10, 20 minutes, I consider that a good video.
Yeah. And especially with the time that we just went through, like, it's not that I get this comment often, but every once in a while I would get a comment of saying that, the videos I was making was, helping someone through the dark pandemic times. And it's like, wow, okay. They're like, I'm actually having a positive effect on the way someone's feeling in their life. Isn't that a nice thing to be able to say?
Yeah, I get those comments pretty often just because I post, once a week, and that's the schedule I've stuck to for I don't know how long.
Right.
And that's really been my main goal. It's sure I'm doing this for money because that's my job, but at the same time, I still have that level of interaction with people that are watching me. And I do want people to enjoy their life. It's not like I want people to be miserable. I want people to be happier. So those negative comments, they're not the majority. They're just very loud.
They're very loud. They always stand out.
Oh God, are they loud?
They always stand out.
It's so easy to fix it on them if you really want to. That's something I learned very, very early on, is that you can't fixate on those because they're just stupid comments.
Yeah. Not always. There's some out there that are good criticisms that I've taken into account and consideration. You got to spot them.
Yeah, you can totally disagree with me. That's personally fine. How you disagree with me is up to you. Sometimes they may be rude, but you got to read between the lines. But then there are those comments that aren't criticism. They're just being rude and insulting you for the sake of insulting you. And if you reply in any sort of way, it's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, it's over.
Because you'll always get like, wow, you can't handle criticism. Like, where's the criticism here? You just said, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going on about? And it's not even just them. If you reply at all, you'll get other people that'll say that. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You just have to let it go sometimes. You just have to see that comment and be like, oh, man. Okay. All right. Moving on.
I will say I love how YouTube deals with banning people. And a lot of people that don't make videos just have no idea how it works. Because it's not just an outright ban. They don't know. It's a shadow ban. So they still think they're leaving their annoying comments, and they aren't.
Yeah, everyone gets to be happy. Oh, man.
Yeah, those don't usually get me. It's usually the, because when they're just raw insults, I just kind of look at them like, okay, whatever, just keep moving.
Yeah.
It's the ones where it's like, how did you come to this conclusion?
Yeah,
Style
or
comments
you're
that
just
get me.
bewildered, and you're like, you have to reply. You're like, what are you talking about?
Like, what? How did this
I didn't
happen?
say that. I literally didn't say what you're saying I said.
I cannot tell you how many times I've responded out loud while reading comments with those exact words. It's like, I literally didn't say that. Like, what?
Like,
It is. I do generally want people to know that it is a positive experience when you're interacting with viewers.
yeah, no,
Most
totally.
of the time
totally.
it is.
Most of the time it absolutely is. You get those comments where where you're criticizing something, but you still say that you think it's a good game, and then the comments are like I can't believe you think this game is bad. I'm like, the whole video is about how I don't think it's bad. That's what the whole thing is about.
Especially
that.
with the titles. With the titles I use, I get a lot of comments from people that comment first and then watch the video after. So they'll leave like, "How could you say this game is bad? This game is awesome." Like, I literally said the game was awesome.
Yeah, my favorite commenters. I mean, because the longer you do this, the more you start to kind of see different commenters. Like, there's different kind of patterns of the different types of commenters, right? And my favorite commenter is the one that comments on the video repeatedly as they're watching it, as if they're in a live stream. You've seen them. You've seen
Edit,
know them.
Whoops, I'm wrong. Edit. No, you're wrong.
Where like you post a video and you're looking through the comments and you see like 12 comments from one guy commenting as he's listening to the video and responding in real time in a comment section. That, my God, dude, like, what do you do with that?
There's an edit button, like,
yeah.
or just watch the video. Like, start typing out your comment as you're watching.
Mm-hmm.
Don't press post until the video is done.
Yeah, this is not Twitch. Those are so funny. They don't happen all the time, but when they do, it's just mwah, mwah, I love it. It's so funny.
I always laugh when I see it. If I ever go into my inbox and I see like 5 different replies in a row, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what happened here.
We were talking a couple weeks ago when we were trying to set up this call, and you were talking about how you were setting up this time to take for yourself to avoid burnout, and I was wondering if we could get into that a little bit, like how does this process, how does this video production process affect your personal life and affect how you feel, and what do you do to give yourself time to recover, and how often do you need to just kind of like step back and for your own mental health?
So it really depends on the situation at the time. The reason I wanted to take this week off specifically is because typically I'm very good at keeping weekends. I will simply not work on the weekends. Like, that's my time to hang out with my friends, play some multiplayer games with them, stuff that I don't usually stream. Just to sort of, as much as I like my viewers, you need to have your personal space with your personal friends. Like, you just sort of need that. Honestly, it's pretty bad sometimes to interact with viewers that step out of where they should to try to message you. Because then a lot of the times the DMs you start getting are basically YouTube comments in your DMs. And it's like, I get thousands of these. I've seen all of them. I don't need them in my Discord, in my Telegram, that sort of stuff. And I know they're just trying to create conversation. But like, I exist outside of my YouTube channel. Like, I am a regular person. So I have a lot of things I do want to talk about, but that video I made 5 months ago that I mentally moved on from a week after I made it and got hundreds of thousands of comments on it already isn't something. It's like talking about work, basically. And there's no real way to say that without sounding like, how dare you be a fan and try to talk to me? And that's not the way I want that to come out.
Yeah.
But it's more like, I'm totally okay with talking about it. Like, I have quite a few friends that I met through like my YouTube comment section that eventually came over to Twitch and we started talking more. Like, that totally can happen. But it won't happen because you DM'd me about a video I made on Homefront 2 years ago. Or however long I made it. I don't know how I got off on that tangent.
It's okay.
Was it? Right. No, over the last like month or so, I hadn't even really been taking weekends off just because like new games have been dropping, and I just been working more than I usually would have. So I kind of needed just a break to not be working all the time, to just relax and hang out with friends like I wanted to. So I had a trip coming up on April 1st, 2nd, that weekend up in Seattle, which is not really traveling from here because I'm in Portland. That's 3 hours north. That's not, that's part of this region. I've been there plenty of times before. But I was just going up there for a Monster Truck show. And I figured I might as well just stay up there for the weekend. That's the first time I've like left the state and done anything since the pandemic happened. And I wasn't going to be getting back until Sunday night. And at that point, I had spent the whole weekend there. So I definitely wouldn't have wanted to immediately stream the next day. So I was like, I'll just make 2 videos one week, just really grind that out, work a little bit more, and then let's take this week off.
Nice.
That's generally my process.
Do you always do it like that? Like you set up an extra video to publish the next week so you don't have to do anything?
Yeah. I'll make sure I have like 2 videos ready to go. So one of the weeks I can just sort of take that off.
That's cool. Like we apparently have very different kinds of ways of going about video production. Like, because you have like I stream on Monday and then I put together my recording and then I have the video up by Friday. And I'm more kind of like, I'm always working on 5 or 6 different ideas in my head of videos that could be coming out, and I'll put out 2 one week and then not one the other. I'll do a big 40-minute analysis, and then the next week will just be like a 4-minute video. I'm a lot more all over the place, so I'm a lot worse with my time, and I definitely don't separate it like you do, where like you keep weekends to yourself and you know what day you're doing what. I'm just kind of like all over the place. I'll take a day off and then I'll work 16 hours the next day, and I won't take weekends off, and I end up in that similar kind of burnout situation. And my way of dealing with it, I do what you do. I have an extra video, but what I do is I have certain videos that I call low priority videos that can come out at any time, like a retrospective on an indie game from 10 years ago that I love, or a lore video about a game I love. And like, I could put that video out today. I could put that video out in 6 months. It doesn't matter because it's not time sensitive. And so I kind of always have a few videos done and ready to publish if I find myself in a position where I'm like, I need to take a couple weeks off. And so I have something to just kind of publish.
The way I look at it is that when I start feeling that burnout, like I'm just doing too much work and I'm sitting there editing and I don't feel like doing it, I start thinking like, so what is it I would rather be doing right now? Like, what is it I'm actually wanting to do? And how do I make time to myself to do that thing? And like, once I kind of figure that out, which in my case is usually just, I'd rather just hang out in a Discord call with friends, or just go out to the food carts with some of my friends, or something like that. Once I figure that part out, I'm like, okay, well, I'll make time to do this. And once I do that, I'll generally feel like going back to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need too much time to recharge. Like, I do find that after I finish a project, just having that weekend is usually enough.
Do you find yourself in those moments where you're like, for 4 days, you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Like, I'm a fraud. I have nothing to say. And then like after those 4 days, you're like, oh shit, I have an idea for 3 videos.
No, I never find myself in that position.
I'm there every 3 months, man. Every 3 months, I go through like a full-on panic attack. Well, especially now that, like, dude, my channel like kind of exploded out of nowhere, right? Like, the Marauder video just happened. I didn't see it coming, and I just kind of fell into it. And I don't know if I've mentioned this on this podcast before, but I lost a lot of my employment when the pandemic happened. Like, 80% of my employment was reduced, and then 2 weeks later the Marauder video blew up and I suddenly transitioned to YouTube. It just happened right there when it needed to. And so I said, okay.
Just a blessing in disguise.
Just a blessing. It just happened. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing this now. I like it. I have more to say. Let's do it. But now that Doom Eternal has been winding down and like I'm not doing tech videos on it anymore, I'm not putting out 2 videos a week about Doom. I'm focusing on the other stuff I like to do, which means I'm in a lot of other places thinking about a whole lot of the other stuff, and it means I can't put out stuff as much as I used to. And I would love to find another game that I can like dive into and obsess over and analyze for the next year or two. But games like that only come along once a decade, really, for me. Like the last one was Mortal Kombat 9, and that was over 10 years ago. So now I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just going to be talking about whatever, and we'll see who sticks around. And so that's, I don't know, it's a weird space, and every few months ago I kind of have a bit of a panic attack over it.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's a very common space to be in. That's the space that we talked about Adam Kara before. That's the space he was sort of in. I have another friend named Windows. That's the space he was in. And they both got popular thanks to Rivals of Ether, at least within that little community. But Rivals is not a huge game. Like, it never has been. I've had that conversation with Windows. I've talked to Adam Kara about it before, but like, you're simply that it's not enough to really sustain a career on. That's a little peak you're gonna get, and then it's gonna drop off real hard.
Yeah.
Doom is less so because it's it's Doom. It's fucking huge, but that's still gonna be that peak, and then it's gonna drop off because you're. I think a lot of people look at your channel as like the Doom Eternal channel.
And that's unfortunate. I tried to make it clear within the first couple weeks. I was like, okay, you can come here for Doom stuff, but I'm not a Doom channel. Like, in those first months, I'm talking Mortal Kombat, I'm talking Prison Architect, I'm doing Resident Evil reviews. Because I wanted to specifically avoid that. I didn't want to find myself here at this time with no one caring about anything I have to say other than Doom. And there are people like that. There's plenty of people like that who only watch me for Doom. But I had to establish very early on that I want to talk about other stuff. And so far, it's been working out. I could have found myself in a very bad situation if I only talked Doom for 2 years straight. Though there are some people who think that that's what I do.
Yeah, it's so people don't treat the subscribe button like a subscribe button. Like, people don't treat that button as like, hey, I like this person, I want to see more of his content. That's not what people click subscribe for. People see one video and they go, I really like this video. I want to see more videos exactly like this one and only this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I've always kind of had to play around, but from day one I tried to avoid that on the channel I'm covering. And like, I don't really know how to describe my channel. It's sort of like a pseudo review channel where I'm not really trying to make reviews, but I kind of am at the same time. And in all reality, like, the biggest reason I call my channel like my video is an analysis video, like, I only ever make reviews when a new game is coming out and I have an early key for it, and that's when people are going to be searching for a review specifically.
Okay.
Other than that, I just make an analysis video because, like, I don't want to talk about everything. I don't care about going in depth about the story of 90% of shooters. 90% of shooters don't have a story you should give a shit about to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not interested in doing that. And if you look at the chapters of my videos, like 60 to 70% of the video is just me talking about gameplay.
Yep.
Like, because that's like what I want to focus on for the most part. And, a decent amount talking about graphics depending on the game. And, like, obviously it's game situational, but most of the time it's just the gameplay.
Yeah, and you run that risk, like, when you call something a review, like, when you say review, people think IGN reviews, right?
Yeah.
Or they think,
they think games journalists.
Yeah, they think games journalists review, where they're gonna like break down everything, and not even just that, but like Skill Up, right? Like, if you want, like, Skill Up's videos are very well put together. He knows how to make a review. Agree with him or not, like, he knows how to structure a video review, and he will dive into as many aspects of the game as possible that he thinks people need to know about before they make a decision. Like, that's a good format for a review. I can't do that. Like, my Shadow Warrior 3 video spent like 8 minutes talking about the reloading mechanic. Like, that's I don't know if you could really call that a review. And you do videos where I'm more of a channel where I talk about what I care about, and so I don't want to call everything a review, because that it gives people certain expectations going into the video of what they're expecting to hear, and then they get let down because they're like, you didn't talk about the story at all. or like, why aren't you talking about the music? And I was like, I don't really care.
The inevitable you forgot insert thing for your comments.
You forgot to mention. Yeah, there's
It's like, no, I didn't forget. I just don't care.
Yeah, I just didn't think. Yeah.
You know, I just didn't care to talk about it at all. I'll get that pretty often. It's genuinely difficult to talk about story too, because like, how much do you say? How much do you spoil? How much do people want to hear?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's different for everyone. Some people don't want any spoilers. Some people want to fully talk about it because they beat the game, or they don't plan on playing it. They just want to know. And there are some games I avoid talking about because I feel like the video would just be so much work in that way. Like Spec Ops: The Line is a great example of that. There is no way to cover that game without the bulk of it being about its message and its story and, you know, all of that. Because the gameplay is pretty boring. It's just generic third-person shooter. And I think people try to delve too much into that part, and they're like, well, it's intentionally supposed to, you know, be boring or not supposed to be interesting like war or whatever. Like, no, it's just a boring third-person shooter. You're looking way too much into that. It's the story that hooks people for a reason.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to do it because, A, so many people have done it to death. You know, what's his channel's name? Reykjavik?
Uh-huh.
He's already made a great video on it. He's one of the few people I watch that I actually do enjoy. Not to say I don't enjoy other people, but like I generally don't spend a lot of my time really watching video game content.
No, I don't either. How can you? When you think about it all the time, like the last thing I want to do is go around and watch 5 or 6 other gaming channels talk about games. I don't want to do that. I'd rather watch a movie analysis video or watch a movie myself because
or play the game myself.
Or play the game yourself, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, let me look through what do I even watch on YouTube? Let me look through, like, the only video game related stuff that I'll watch is like, I don't know, maybe like I'll see gun guides for a multiplayer game I'm playing at the time, because I don't really cover multiplayer games, and that's like my play multiplayer games with my friends on the weekend, stuff like that. So maybe some stuff like that, but that's not typically what people are thinking of. But not much of what I watch is really video game related. I'm trying to even think of what I watch.
It just can't
all over
be.
the place.
It just can't be because you need to get out of that mind space. Like, I would imagine that it's the same way for movie analysis channels where they analyze movies all the time. They probably don't go around in their free time watching other movie analysis channels. They're watching stuff that they're not involved in.
Yeah, and if I do watch video game content, you're right. It's the stuff I'm not making videos about. Like I watch a lot of Super Smash Bros. Melee stuff, because I've always been into competitive, you know, platform fighters, more on the Melee P+ Rivals side. So, you know, I'll watch a lot of Melee content and keep up with that. Like I said, the multiplayer games that I play off stream that I don't make videos on, which I don't make videos for totally different reasons. But yeah, it's a lot of, if I do watch video game stuff, it's the stuff I haven't cared to make videos on that I still want to talk about.
Yeah. Have you did you watch that Halo video I sent you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I did watch that.
What do you think of that?
It's pretty much spot on.
Yeah. It's a little all over the place, but it's the guy's first video. All right. It kind of goes off on. I think it kind of loses its track sometimes, but it's well put together, and the guy expresses himself well, and I like how he used the music, and that opening section was really, really good.
Yeah, the opening section is really, really similar to what I did for Halo 3 and what so many of other people have done, because it was just like a very different time in video games as a whole. You know, releases used to be this huge, like, local party.
Yes.
And we don't get that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. God, like
just for like context, because I just realized people listening to the podcast will have no idea what we're going on about. Someone talking about what Halo meant to him, and now that he's not playing Halo anymore because of the state of Infinite. Basically, Tulane didn't watch. And yeah, for the most part, I totally agree with him. There was, I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, because I remember there was one part that he like didn't mention, but I just don't really. Oh right, no, that was what I was gonna say. It's just, I don't actually put as much thought into the cosmetic section. I know that's like a huge, you know, people get real upset when I say that, but I've never really cared about cosmetics that much when it comes to Halo, because Halo's always just been about just be the best person in the lobby. You know, it's never quite had unlocks like say like Call of Duty would have to really keep people invested. Like it has some of that, but nowhere to that level. And I've just never been that type of person. I just focus on gameplay more than anything else, really. The only cosmetic thing I would be fine is if we could bring back playable elites. That's all I care about.
Okay. Yeah.
Literally just that. So the cosmetics, I never really care. Like, not to say the story isn't gosh, it's bad, very very bad the way they have it set up. It's just, to me, it's not as important as the base game being functional and there being no content. The way I've been describing it is that, that was a big critique people had on Halo 5's launch, is that there wasn't much content. They focused entirely on like having a good esports base, which, to be fair, was really good. They had all the, Slayer, Team Slayer, the things you would expect as far as that is concerned. And then on the casual side, they had Warzone, which I didn't enjoy. It was weird, but like it was there for the casual fans. Halo Infinite, 4 or 5 months after launch, has less content than Halo 5 did at launch. And that is really bad. And there's seemingly no more coming. I don't even have Halo Infinite installed. Yeah. Like, there's just nothing there to play.
I've never been a Halo fan. I like Halo. I think it's a good series of classic games. I have good memories. You've seen my older Halo videos. I talk about the Halo parties I used to go to, and I didn't even play Halo. I was playing Unreal Tournament in the corner and just hanging out with my friends. I have very, very fond memories of those Halo parties. So Halo was always kind of like part of me, even though I'm not a fan. And when Halo Infinite was coming out, I was like, hey, I'm excited. I'm not even a Halo player, and I'm looking forward to a fun, first-person shooter Halo experience. And I didn't really like the campaign much, but I was kind of interested in maybe playing some multiplayer, and I played it, and I was just like, God, that first experience of where I wasn't able to choose the game type I wanted to play.
Oh God, that made me so annoyed.
What a turnoff! I mean, like outside of the Halo community and the player base, people like me who are not Halo fans who said, "Hey, this game looks cool. I'm going to give it a shot." It made a very bad first impression. I couldn't take it for more than a week, and now I'm gone. Right, that's a customer that's gone because I was totally up for getting into some multiplayer Halo, and I just no, thank you.
Yeah, that.
Wow,
I was
what a
sitting
decision!
There and I have no clue. I've said this before, but quite literally, no update we've gotten from 343 has made me feel better about the state of the game. Man. It's only gotten worse, and the more I've played it, the more I've noticed just the base problems that even if it did have a ton of content, these problems would still be killing, not like killing the game, but just killing your fun. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things, there's so many server issues, and hit reg is so bad. Like, there are videos, and I've seen this, happen to me plenty of times, where you shoot someone with a skewer and you see the big spike sticking out of them, but it doesn't hit them. Oh. Like, it's just basic stuff like that, and dying way around walls, which I'm sure you experienced. I talked about that even in my review. And that stuff hasn't been fixed. If anything, it feels like it's got worse. So, like, even the base experience is frustrating at this point.
Yeah.
And it's just nothing has gotten better. It's only gotten worse.
10 out of 10, masterpiece. Remember those reviews came out when the game released? I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it.
I'm pretty much on the opposite side when it comes to the campaign, though. I actually tweeted about this the other day. I still really like the campaign. The campaign is still really, really fun to me. And I feel like that shouldn't bleed into the multiplayer. As easy as it can be to, be like, oh, fuck 343. They're ruining my favorite game of all time. As easy as it is to let the salt overtake you. I still really enjoy the campaign. I find it to be really fun. But I also really enjoy open world games to an extent as well. Sure. I'm a huge Far Cry fan. I've defended Far Cry, like, even today, where everyone hates it. So it's not too surprising from my standpoint to really like it.
I probably would have liked it a lot more if it had the co-op option.
That is true. That is true.
I played Combat Evolved. I never played it single player because I wasn't a Halo fan, but I played the hell out of co-op with my friends at the parties because that was fun. I could have had a very different experience with Infinite. A lot of people could have if it had co-op.
Yeah, and even the co-op has been delayed. I don't know if you heard those news.
Yeah.
Co-op got delayed, Forge got delayed. At this point, I'm like, what? So are we going to get any new content within the first 6 months of the game?
Yeah. Wow. Just maybe it should have just been finished when they released it, What a concept.
You know, yeah, maybe. You know, maybe push it back another year or so.
Yeah.
It needs it. As it's as annoying as it is. Yeah, I've gotten a few comments where it's like, but I thought you said you loved this game in your review. I was like, what are you talking about? A good like 6 of that 40-minute long video was me talking about the problems of the multiplayer. You know, and I it's probably because I clarified right away at the beginning, and I still obviously will hold this point. It doesn't matter how bad 343 is being, and State of Halo Infinite, that does not justify literally harassing people.
No, never.
Like, gamers do that way too much. And I specify that right away. It's like, I want people to know that I still enjoy this game, but there is a lot of problems, but it's just a video game, though. It's not that important.
Yeah, you have to also see the difference between when developers just fuck up because they have the wrong idea about something, and when developers are like actively taking the piss out of you. I just said taking the piss. I've been talking to catch up too much. Isn't that a British saying? Or is that Australian? I get it from G-Man. I don't know. I'm mixing all my idioms and expressions. But like sometimes you play a game and you're like, wow, these developers are like actually just like don't give a fuck. And that's where anger comes from when you start, at least for me, when you start reviewing things, when you're like, wow, they actively don't care about how bad they're making this and how much they're just like disrespecting people who have supported the franchise for forever. That's a very different thing from playing something and you're like, hey, these are big mistakes, but they can be fixed, right?
Yeah, and I don't get the impression that Infinite is blatantly insulting me, but is just being mishandled very poorly. Like, and I don't know if you've seen videos about it, but there've been, you know, people that quit 343 recently that have been talking about it, saying it's just not a good work experience at this point.
Sure.
And like just sort of everything around 343 is really bad right now.
I can imagine that.
There's no other way to put that.
Yeah.
But I don't get it, like, I don't ever get the feeling of, like, malice.
Sure.
You know? Although what they're saying doesn't help, because they definitely have not been using the correct phrasing to explain their problems.
The I guess the most egregious stuff is the store stuff. Like that guy
absolutely.
like that guy pointed out in his video that like you can buy a color. You have to buy a color other than colors being just free. And the color doesn't apply to all of your armor. Like, you have to rebuy the same color for all of the armor loadouts. Like, that is awful. That, like, I just... What? Like, if I use a different helmet, that means I can't use red? I gotta buy red again for this helmet? That's fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, and he was 100% true when he said most people stick to one color for their armor sets throughout their entire, like, Halo lifetime.
Yeah.
And, like, it's always been red and black for me. Red and black is always what I've done.
Yeah.
And I just can't really do that. So...
Oh, man.
Yeah, I always had a somewhat hot take about Infinite in general, though. I think I expressed this in the review I said, is that I was overall optimistic about it. But Infinite isn't one of my favorite multiplayer, like Halo multiplayer games. Even if it was absolutely perfect and had a bunch of content.
What was?
It still wouldn't be one of my favorite.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you clipped out there in your mic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Infinite's not one of my favorite Halo multiplayer games. It's not bad. You know, I've always explained to people, like, I saw when it first came out, so many people were explaining it as, like, Halo 3 is back or something like that. I'm like, no, this doesn't feel anything like Halo 3's multiplayer. This feels more like an evolution of Halo 5 to try to play like older Halo. You know, when Halo Infinite first came out, everyone was, like, freaking out, excited, like, this is the best Halo multiplayer has ever been. We're back to, like, Halo 2 and 3. It never felt like Halo 2 and 3 to me. It felt like a completely new take on what those old games were. And it was, like, the biggest thing is that it's significantly faster. Like, way faster than Halo 2 and 3. Because Halo 2 and 3 are actually kind of slow.
Right.
You know, and I found it fun, but I wasn't really, like, wowed and hooked like I was with the old Halo games. I was just like, okay, I can see what they're going for here, but, you know, my favorite Halo multiplayer is still Halo Combat Evolved. You know, and I
Mind you.
actually loved Halo 5's multiplayer, which is, depending on who you ask, a hot take or not. I think it shouldn't be a hot take because as much as people hate Halo 5, the multiplayer was done really well, especially a year after launch when everything was, you know, full of content, like more content than any other Halo game. So that was sort of like my take on it. Was like, I don't even think I really said that in the review because there was just not really any reason to. Because at the time, this is a good way for Halo to go, and I still think it's a good way for Halo to go, as much as I still would have preferred something more like Halo 1, 2, 3, or Halo 5. But it doesn't really matter at this point.
Have they lost you? Are you not coming back once season 2 starts?
I'll come back once there's finally like actual content. Yeah. That's the biggest hang up for me.
Forge and the customization and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think Forge is the big one. When they add Forge, I will definitely reinstall and see all the custom stuff, because now we finally have some casual stuff. Because one of the biggest things, and people talk about this all the time, that video did not mention, is just how Halo 5, or Halo, not Halo, well, also Halo 5, is just how Halo is dealing with skill-based matchmaking nowadays. I know it's a hot topic, but it is genuinely the worst form of skill-based matchmaking I have seen in any game for Halo Infinite. Like, not even on a, like, oh, you just want to beat up noobs, like that dumb mentality that people always come back at you with, but even just like, it, as its core function doesn't work. For example, let's say I make a brand new account, I've never played Halo Infinite, but I'm a good player, and I decide to play some casual matches and smurf my first 20 matches, do absolutely awful intentionally, make myself look like a complete noob at the game. And then I decide to jump into ranked and play my first like 10 matches or however many it is to get your ranking placement. You will be capped at how high your placement can be. You could be absolutely perfect, the best person in the lobby, go flawless, everything, and still only end up silver because your MMR carries over to ranked. And there is no reason that should happen. Like, it's amazing how bad their true skill system actually is. And Halo 5 handled it the same way. And we all tried to like warn people to say that this is probably going to be an Infinite, but people didn't listen. And now it got even worse. I especially hate it because even if you're trying to argue with people saying, oh, you just don't want to play against people of your same skill, which I don't agree with that logic to begin with. Even then, that doesn't answer the question of how do you deal when you're playing with friends? Because I played Halo my whole life. Most of my friends aren't as good as I am because they haven't done that. They just don't have as much experience. So if I try to party up with them, they get pulled up to my skill level. Then I'm forced to try to carry every single game and sweat my ass off just to try to have fun and still lose. And my friends are getting stomped and it's just not fun.
Yeah.
So like, and that's been a problem in like almost every big first-person shooter the last, I want to say 4 or 5 years now. But it's even worse in Infinite. Like, it's by far the worst system I've seen. And again, I would like to point out, Halo has always had skill-based matchmaking to an extent. When skill-based matchmaking does what it's supposed to do, you don't notice it. You know, Halo 2 had it on the first online Halo multiplayer game. But it wasn't like this. And even previous Bungie devs that worked on that sort of system said that they don't agree with how the new system is working. It goes against what they were trying to do and what made the original Halo multiplayer experiences so fun. So yeah, that's definitely one of the big things that keeps me from wanting to play. Because even with the content that's in the game, at a baseline I enjoy, the experience isn't fun and I don't enjoy it. Well, like, even when I'm having really good games, it feels less fun. It's like every game is the strictest ranked game you could ever find, even when you're in casual.
Well, at the end of the day, like, if after everything, if what you say is, yeah, it just doesn't feel fun, well then, like, that's it, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel good to play, then it doesn't feel good to play.
Yeah, it's just, like, not only does it not have all the content it needs, it has all the little tiny things that do add up over time and do just sort of, like, mentally drain you and just make you look at the game and think about it and just, I don't want to play it now.
Yeah. I'm like that with Mortal Kombat 11, man.
Yeah, fighting games can get that more than anything else.
Yeah, I just even when I win, I'm like, oh, I hate this. that's a feeling I've had with NRS games since Injustice.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to bring up, man? I mean, this has been a pretty cool talk. It's been like an hour and 20 minutes or so. Anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap this up?
Um, yeah, I was gonna mention that like just a few of the games that I play other than shooters, just to give people an idea.
Oh yeah, go for
Because
it.
I know a lot of people do ask that, as like, what else do you want to cover, but you just can't.
Oh yeah, I'd love to know that.
And some of them I actually have. Like for example, Microsoft threw me a key for Ori 2 before that came out. So I made a video of Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which was Ori 2, and it got like no views. And this was already after my channel was popular. Let me look exactly how many views did this get. This got just shy of 8,000 views, and that's horrendous for me. My average within the first couple of days is closer to like 30K.
Yeah.
So like, if people ask it, and I get comments like that all the time. It's like, why do you only cover shooters? Do you hate variety? Do you just not have an open mind? I'm like, no, it's because you motherfuckers won't watch it. It's you that don't have an open mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would love to cover other types of content like that. Like also like Pokemon. You know, I was born in '91, so of course I'm into Pokemon. And not even just Pokemon, but like fan games and then other games that are like Pokemon, like Koromon, Examon. I would like to make videos of that, but I know nobody would watch it. And I think Twitch is a great way to experiment. Because if my Twitch viewership is significantly lower, the views will definitely not be there. Because nobody wants to see it. That watch me. And then there's platform fighters. As I'm sure you're already aware at this point, I'm pretty big into platform fighters of the more like melee variety. You know, it's Melee, Project Plus. It used to be Project M's, P Plus nowadays. I actually run the local Rivals of Aether scene.
Oh.
So I run local tournaments for Rivals of Aether.
That's badass, dude. That's great.
Yeah, I've been doing that for years, and at this point, you know, I've been playing Rivals since 2015, and you know how it goes with competitive fighting games. After a certain point, I feel like you just kind of, you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish, and you sort of mentally check out, and you just kind of idly play every once in a while. And at that point, it becomes more of a, I'm just hanging out for a community experience. And that's like the one place I still have where I can get that, like, we have our locals. I'm playing side by side next to someone. I'm not even really there for the game. I'm just there to hang out. You know, so we have a monthly every single month. It's the last Sunday of every month. And I also run a major every year too. Or at least I did until the pandemic happened. We're going to bring that back eventually. But Rivals is so interconnected that when I run these majors, it's like top players are flying in from all over North America to compete in it. So that to me is more fulfilling than actually just winning tournaments. Like so it brings me back to like when everyone would go over to someone's, you know, your friend's house to play Halo 2 after school, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I totally relate. I haven't run my own tournaments, but I have set up like weekly locals, and I've run brackets at a tournament before, which is incredibly stressful. But like there's a rush you get from that is very different from the actual playing and competitive experience. And there's like a community satisfaction you get from the feeling that like you're bringing people together to and organizing something that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't stepped up and done it yourself. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's the reason I even run the locals to begin with, because I wasn't the first person to step up and try to start the Portland scene for that. Because the Pacific Northwest, we've always been pretty like stacked as far as like Rivals players go. The top players have always up here. So at one point, one of them tried to start locals. They found a local venue. This venue is awesome, by the way. They're the main venue that runs pretty much everything. If there is a fighting game community, if there's a platform fighter, if there's like a card game, it will be at this venue.
Okay.
So they found that venue and they tried to run weeklies or whatever. It did okay for a while, and then it slowly kind of died off and just sort of disappeared. And then later, out of all places, I went to a local furry convention, and I found that same venue that ran our Rivals locals running the gaming room at that convention. I just recognized the sign. I was like, wait, I know these people, and I saw the owner of the place, who I didn't really know that well at the time. I just knew who he was. And started talking to him, and then I discussed to him like, hey, here's kind of the thing we need to really, because we have the players, this is what we need to really help this out and get this going. And then that's how I kind of like ended up just sort of put in position to run it. It was never intended, but I was just at the right place at the right time. And I, eventually found out, once a week it's just too much of a commitment. People are in school, they have full-time jobs, so a monthly works out pretty well. And doing a big event, once a year, or maybe a regional in between that works pretty well, and just sort of figuring out how this works. I never found it stressful, I will say that. it is a lot of work. If you ever go to local tournaments, please thank your TOs. They are doing so much work behind the scenes that you're not aware of.
Yep.
But like that, I don't really find stressful. What I did learn when I ran my first major is that playing in a major and TOing a major at the same time is really goddamn hard.
It's so much, dude. Oh my god. The one where I ran the brackets was a major, and I just like oh my god. I played in 2 tournaments at the same one, and I was running 2 brackets. Man, I'll never do that again.
Yeah, that was my experience because initially we had 2 TOs, and initially the way we had it set up is that we had 2 different waves for pools. And the TOs were supposed to be in different pools, or different waves of the pools, and we were. But then something happened where someone signed up last second, and we didn't realize that this scattered the seating so that both TOs were now in the same wave. So I'm having to like play my pools and TO at the same time. And I remember one specific time I was actually really rude without even realizing it, just because I was trying to multitask so many things. I'm sitting there playing, I think it was like my round 3 or something. I'm sitting there playing against someone. And I'm seeing someone hovering over my shoulder, knowing they need something. It's the person that I'm going to be playing the next round, waiting for me. And I lean over my shoulder and I go, hold on, I have to play you on stream after the set. I hadn't even won the set yet. It was just like me basically saying, hold on, let me beat this person, get him out of the way real quick. It's like the most rude thing I didn't realize it till later, and went out of my way. I was like, I'm sorry, I did not mean that. That is not what I meant to say. But yeah, I never found it too stressful at the TO, but that's also probably because I like know everyone in that community. I know what they look like, and I've also been TOing for so long that once you get that experience, it's more fun and exciting. I also love commentating. I actually find commentating more fun than actually playing.
Oh god, I freeze up. I can't do commentary at all. I feel so weird and under pressure.
Surprising. For me, I don't know if it's just because I've been making videos for so long. I find it really easy, or if it's like because I have like something like 2K hours into Rivals, and that 2K has been sitting there for the last like 2 years, 3 years. I think 2018 is kind of when I stopped really competing. So it's been 2K in the first like 3 years of the game. So, yeah, I played Rivals for a long time. I know a lot about the game, and it's not just me commentating. You have other people. We have like a commentator couch with like 3 people. So, and I also know the commentators really well. So I think having a good environment for commentating is just as important as how much knowledge you know.
Sure. And having the right person next to you to talk to as well.
Yeah, it's great. Honestly, I have a lot of fun. Our commentary just kind of turns into, well, for local monthlies, our commentary just turns into us shit talking each other.
Yeah.
Just friendly banter. But for majors, it's a little more really focusing on it with a little bit of shit talking because we know each other so well.
Yeah.
It's fun. I have a lot of fun doing it.
Well, man, I guess we could go ahead and wrap this up. It's
Yep.
I gotta start putting dinner on the stove. Back on that diet that I keep on breaking. It's hard. It's impossible to follow a diet when you have a YouTuber sleep schedule. When it's 5 o'clock in the morning and you're editing a video, like it's hard to go to the kitchen and make broccoli.
I'm a little spoiled since like Portland is a fairly large city. Like the Portland Metro is like 2.5 million, so I generally have somewhere to eat at any given time. Like hell, there's a food cart pod. Portland's really known for having food cart pods like everywhere. Those are like the most authentic, like the best food you can really get because it's just like this family just moved here from like Lebanon or something, and they have the shawarma cart. They barely speak English, but it's the best food you've ever had in your life. It's like you'll know you're gonna get good food when you go to order from a food cart, and the person taking your order is their son because they don't speak English.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it's going to be authentic. So like I have all of that kind of food around me. So I was aware how spoiled I was once I traveled for 2 different reasons. One was the food, and the second one is I went to LA. I'm like, I haven't seen a tree in like 10 miles. Yeah, it makes it easier.
Well, Jarek, this has been it's been cool. Thanks for hooking up with me here. I've wanted to talk to you for a while, so thanks a lot for coming on here.
Yeah, it's been fun. Feel free to message me whenever.
It's too bad we couldn't get Adam on here. For the listeners, we were trying to get Adam Carr on here to join as well, but that's okay. Maybe I want to get him on sometime. We'll see.
He does want to join, just for the record, but unfortunately he had work all week and couldn't make the time.
That's all right. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out with me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I will post Jarek's Twitch and YouTube in the pinned comment. Make sure you check out his stuff, sub to his channel. Thank you for listening to this episode of Profiles in Gaming Enthusiasm. I just fucked up the title, whatever. And goodbye, everyone. Take care.